Well, hello, this is Nitin Dahad with EE Times. I'm attending the CadenceLive conference in Santa Clara, California. And this is day one, and I get to speak to Rob Knoth. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Fantastic, Nitin. It's great to talk with you, and thanks for making time to be here with us at Cadence Live.
So, Rob, I think in the last you've been with Cadence a long time, but you're in the EDA industry, good history. Tell us your sort of new role over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's a really exciting one. So I lead our solutions marketing team here at Cadence. And what that really means is that we're partnering with the innovators and leaders out there and across many different industries. Obviously, as you know, Cadence has expanded from its core strength of electronic design automation into full system design automation and beyond. And so what our team does is to go out there and work with the people who are designing that next wave of products, next wave of solutions, and really look at what their design flows need to be and make sure that Cadence is continuing to deliver the type of solutions that are going to be solving the problems that truly matter for humanity.
And I mean, the announcements today, I mean, you had Anirudh Devgan, your CEO, and Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, doing a fireside chat. But then you also put out announcements with NVIDIA, with Google, but your sort of new thing under ChipStack or alongside ChipStack, which is the acquisition you made maybe last year.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a new super agents and agents. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's super exciting, Nitin, and this is something that we've been working on, for quite some time, even before ChipStack. What the announcement is a radical new way of approaching engineering and science using agentic AI. And so what we introduced today is a head agent called Cadence Agent Stack. That head agent then orchestrates across many different engineering domains. And that head agent divides a task amongst different super agents, one per domain. Now, ChipStack was our first domain-specific super agent that we launched this last February.
Okay.
That was focused on semiconductor design verification and creation. And that's really traditionally the longest tentpole as far as any semiconductor project goes. So it was the most natural problem for us to solve first. Today then, in addition to that head orchestrator agent, we introduced domain-specific super agents across a wide swath of territory and really focused on the two that are the next most pressing challenges, which is custom design with our VeraStack AI super agent and digital place and route and sign off, which is the InnoStack AI super agent. And we've got work in progress in 3D IC design and full multi-physics systems optimization as well.
Right.
So it's a great time to be an engineer. And the architecture that we saw working with ChipStack, where it's combining electronic design automation tools with large language model reasoning to deliver predictable, effective solutions, that has scaled incredibly well across these new domains.
Now, two questions. I mean, you say you've been working on it for a while. So, what has been the sort of intensity of the work involved in the development of this, and then it must be really early days in terms of adoption.
Yes.
So two parts to that question.
Yeah, no, so if you think about it, the electronic design automation industry has been working on this problem since its inception. We've always been trying to tackle these tasks, automate as much as possible, accelerate that using the best compute that's available, and then design the next generation of system and continue to abstract the problem so engineers can work at a higher level and accelerate it so that they can get their work done as fast as possible, because the scope of the challenge is exponentially increasing. And that's not new right now just because of AI. If you think about it, that's been happening throughout my entire engineering career and before me.
Yeah, I think you were with variously Magma and
yes,
before that. Yeah.
Magma and a few semiconductor companies before that. And ever since I got out of college, if I think about the problems that we've been tackling, they're constantly getting harder. We're using, increasingly sophisticated tools the scope of the systems we're designing, are massive, that they increase generation after generation. Agentic AI is just the next tool in our tool belt that's been on this. Now, inside of Cadence, we released our first generation of this, which Paul Cunningham today in his special address on agentic AI went into more detail than Anirudh could in his keynote on optimization AI, right? Which, we really look at as this bespoke neural network, right? More traditional reinforcement learning, machine learning techniques. The advantages of those, even though they're not these 100 billion parameter, AI models, they're actually, really quite simple, a few thousand parameters. But the advantage of those is that they're small. Right? You can actually afford to do real-time training on your design on the computer without needing specialized equipment and get improvements in results. Now, when agentic AI entered the room, and that's really, like we first brought the ChipStack company in with an acquisition this last November. We released, our tighter integration of their technology with our core EDA tools and our JEDI infrastructure platform this past February. It's amazing to see how that's taken off. We're engaged with, well over 10 companies today. You saw like several of the logos in the keynote today. It's awesome to see how rapidly this has been adopted.
I mean, when you say rapidly adopted, I think it's with those big companies right now.
Yes.
What's the, I know you can't directly answer the business model, but Anirudh in the media Q&A talked about it being kind of like a car and gasoline model for like you pay for like the license, and then on a usage basis in terms of, I think Jensen was talking about tokens, how many tokens you use. I mean, how do you see this all playing out? I mean, in terms of what are your customers going to accept? And I guess the ones with big pockets can swallow all of that, but what are your where is it going to come to that commoditization, as you said in our pre-conversation?
Yeah, the way that we really look at it is it's more of a consumption-based, model. The EDA industry really, traditionally has always been a license-based model. One human engineer, right, like even before agentic AI, could be using 10, 12 different place and route licenses, right? It is not just a one person, one license sort of thing.
Yeah.
We see similar sort of, trends going into agentic AI. You're looking at how much work can you get done with the tools that you've been able to purchase. And so it's really always much more about the results and the work that the engineers are able to deliver using the electronic design automation tools or system design automation tools, orchestrated now by virtual engineers in addition to the human engineers.
Yeah, I did a podcast with Paul.
Excellent.
On virtual engineers,
Yep.
or Silicon Grapevine podcast.
Yep.
So I think
you're well familiar with
our
it.
viewers know quite a lot about that.
Exactly, but yeah, we're seeing this really scale well, and the important thing is really to look at the fact that the way that we've architected the solution, both in terms of like how users interact with it, and how it interacts with their own custom environments, right? No two customers have the same engineering environments. We're seeing this system scale incredibly well, be able to be adopted and adapted effectively and quickly, and really scaled to meet these challenges that are not getting any easier.
And I think, I don't want to sort of drag the conversation, but I think a lot of the target customers to date have been the people who do the chip design, and their problem, and I think you've said it not you, but in Cadence has said it, and all the other EDA companies, there are not enough engineers,
Yes.
Not enough designers to do the custom chip designs. And I think, was it Google or one of your customers said, on every iteration of the chip, they need 2x the number of engineers. So it's kind of like hard to keep up. And so I think that's quite kind of going to be challenging for not just the big customers doing chip design, but what about this larger community that are now getting into chip design that's never done chip design? How are they going to tackle this with using your tools?
I mean, that is a phenomenal question. And it is something where I think agentic AI actually represents one of the more important transformational technologies that I've seen in my career to exactly help those type of customers. One of the biggest barriers of entry, to people thinking, hey, I might want to make a chip, is actually having the expertise available to make that chip, right?
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, and so it's not necessarily just about how many engineers do I have, but it's also, do I have the right engineers? Are they able to disseminate their knowledge effectively? Am I able to train up the next generation of engineers? So it's not just a butts in chairs sort of thing. It's having the right humans tackling those problems. Agentic AI represents an opportunity for one engineer's knowledge to be able to be magnified and scaled much more effectively. It's able to help someone spend more time thinking about the system they're trying to build and less time thinking about, did I put a semicolon in the right place, inside my script. Yeah. So we really see this as an opportunity to democratize, things like companies who are looking to make chips.
Now, is there still, one of the things Anirudh said in his keynote is your IP business is growing.
Yes.
Is there so much focus on AI agents that you forget the rest of the business?
Oh no, and that's often Anirudh often refers to our 3-layer cake, right?
Okay.
The AI, the principled simulation and optimization, all on a foundation of accelerated compute. And the reason he calls it a cake is that you don't eat a cake one layer at, well, most people don't eat a cake one layer at a time. Some people do, but in general, you put a fork through the cake, you eat all 3 layers at the same time. And that's the way that at Cadence we really view the solutions we're producing. That it's AI combined with the principled simulation and optimization tools, those core EDA and SDA algorithms and products, and running on the right compute architectures. Now, our IP business is a phenomenal example. Boyd Phelps, the leader of our Silicon Solutions group, which is now what we call our IP business, has completely changed the game there. And look at in the last 3 years, what he has done. It's more than just producing IP. He has transformed that group at its DNA level, where they are now the best customer zero for all of Cadence's EDA and agentic AI products. They're the ones who are using them first, giving meaningful feedback to our EDA and SDA R&D teams, and the end result is one of the best examples of a flywheel that I've seen, where they're producing better IP faster, and they're able to then produce better EDA tools for our customers of Cadence. Okay. And so there's definitely not the case that we're neglecting pieces of that business. If anything, what I'm seeing is the fact that the whole business is humming and delivering better. Okay,
now I know we're all short of time, so last question really is, your role is strategy and ventures.
Yes.
And that means looking 3 years out, and what does that mean? You're looking at acquisitions, are you looking at, obviously you can't say, but what you're looking for holes in the business. What are you seeing right now, the holes in the business?
Oh, it's a phenomenal thing, and I think Anirudh really touched on the area that interests me the most, and that's really what we see as the next big wave coming for AI, and that's really physical AI or embodied AI, where you're actually dealing with things like autonomous transportation, drones, and robotics, where AI is moving out of the data center or your smartphone and is actually embodied in the real world. And the host of problems to be solved there are legion, but the opportunity is tremendous. So to actually look at the ability to help design effective and safe intelligence at scale is, to me, just something that is so exciting and such a huge opportunity for the whole world. It's something that at Cadence I feel really privileged for us to be working on. You saw a taste of that today, where Anirudh outlined how we've worked through organic innovation as well as some targeted acquisitions to field a platform that we believe will help transform the data flywheel for physical intelligence.
Okay.
And it's a bright future.
Well, it sounds like the next acquisition will be in the physical AI design space. But anyway,
No comment.
Rob Knoth, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nitin. It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.